This is the Journey Till podcast, and I'm your host, Shawn Donati. I believe life is about the journey, not the destination. To find the journey in every step of the road, the highs and lows, the twists and turns, the ups and downs, it's in that. It's in those moments that makes life so beautiful. Our guest today has a journey of her own. Jessica Gershman is the founder of the Zen Mommy app and the voice behind the Mom Slow Down podcast, as well as a passionate believer in the power of self-care and self-love. Jessica, thank you so much for being here and being on the podcast today.
Thank you so much, Shawn. It's a pleasure.
It is a pleasure to just have you on the show. You are just a jack of all trades, as I just, gave an intro to you and your life. What's it like for you, being a mom and juggling all these different components of your life? How do you figure out and put things into perspective? What does perspective look like for you?
Yeah, I think I love the hustle. I would be really, really bored if I was just sitting around and, I do things for fun that I'm passionate about. And, I went to culinary school just for fun. I never wanted to be a chef, and trying to stay busy and keeping it in perspective, right? It's hard. Being a mom is hard. I mean, even on its best day. And I think being really honest with myself, we celebrate a lot of failures around here. So, I fail all the time. I mean, I failed at businesses. And I share this with my kids. I think it's important. I started a clothing line. It was like one of the hardest things I've ever done, and a complete failure. I learned a lot. I learned that I didn't want to be in the fashion industry. Right? That was really challenging. But keeping in perspective is about the growth, I think, and failing and learning and keeping moving forward. So having that forward momentum, I think, is really important. And sometimes it's just putting one foot in front of the other.
I love that you said that. I'm a mom too. I'm a mom to a teenager, and I'm also a business owner. And I know what you mean. It's something about just accepting your failures and being transparent, I think, with what the failure is to your children and really to your audience. I think what do you think that does? What type of vibe do you get, or what's the reaction that you get from your audience, your fan base, when you share those types of things that's going on in your life? Not necessarily the good things, but the things that may be looked upon as not necessarily good, such as failure. What's the response that you usually get from the public when you share those things?
Yeah, I think people really appreciate honesty. And, coming from being a yoga teacher, and one of the ways that, I taught in my classes when, I was seeing students and teaching in group classes, was being able to share the things that are really hard that were going on in my life, whether, I've been very open to talk about my struggles with an eating disorder, addiction, going through relationship things, struggles. I mean, I've been married for 14 years, and, just the realities of how difficult things are. And I think it's important that everyone realizes, everyone has a story that nothing about. So no matter what someone looks like on the outside, or how their picture is presented, or what you may think about someone, we're all sharing these, big T traumas, little T traumas, stories. And I think really people appreciate, and it resonates with them, because if maybe they're not experiencing something that you're going through, they know someone who is. Or by being vulnerable and honest and open, you give someone else a platform to be able to just exist and be okay. Be like, yeah, this shit is really hard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm struggling too, and it's okay. And I'm still, I'm getting up, and I'm doing it. I'm, failing, but I'm succeeding here, and we're all just trying to make it and live. And so I think people really appreciate it, whether that's on social media. I said, I need to stop more when I'm like screaming at my children to take a picture. They don't really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Like, come back in here. Let me yell at you again. Hold on. I didn't get that.
No, but it's that moment that you need to capture, because it's not the bow and everything is just so pretty and perfect. It's the imperfections, truthfully, that that makes it real, because that's what life is. It's some imperfection moments that you piece together that makes it perfect.
Yeah, I love it. I said, when you really love someone, you love the crumbs of them, like the dirty crumbs that have been the stale ones in the bottom of the toaster. You don't just love that little pretty piece of bread that comes out. You have to love all of that, at the bottom. And that's what makes us human. That was what makes us beautiful.
I love that. So tell me about your podcast. I know you host the Mom Slow Down podcast. How did that come about? And tell me, why did you feel the need to create this world?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think as moms, we all know what it's like. And sometimes in life and motherhood, we just put our head down and we just go, right? There's a lot going on, whether you have one kid, multiple kids, you're, single parent, you're married, you're working, you're staying at home. We just kind of put our head down as mothers, and we're just get through. And for me, through the path of yoga and mindfulness meditation, that's all about the pause, right? To be able to stop and reflect of, how do I even feel in this moment? What am I going through? What's going on around me? We have to slow down. And that's where the beauty of the present moment is, in slowing down. And we can't do that when we're running around and, there's stuff we have to do. We got baseball, we got soccer, we've got, work deadlines, we're maybe getting a divorce, or we're a single parent, or we're struggling financially, or we're going through, job loss. And there's gratitude in each moment. And we cannot find that even just waking up, right? If that's even all you can find today is, I just woke up today. I'm grateful for being alive, but you can't find it without slowing down. And so the Mom Slow Down podcast was really to kind of give a platform to, people that have struggled, people that have overcome, people that also find ways in which to slow down and really find joy in life. That's really what kind of my mission with the app, with the podcast, is to say, even in the little moments, there's joy through all of it. You've got to slow down. You've got to feel some of the feels. You got to feel some big feelings, some big emotions. Some of it's not pretty, right? But it's all okay. And you can't do that without slowing down.
What about for you? How do you slow down?
Yeah. Well, it's basic. It's everything I teach. So moving my body every day is a non-negotiable for me. Even just getting out and walking. I use that space to sometimes have silent walks, silent meditations. Right now I'm doing a class, an audio class with Eckhart Tolle. And, I use that time to reflect, to look at nature, to think of the spaciousness in the sky. That for me is a great place to slow down. As easy and simple as it sounds, I breathe. And I teach my kids to breathe. My daughter is 9. She has ADHD, and she struggles with anxiety, and we were at the grocery store today, and I made her ask for something from the butcher counter, and she didn't talk to an adult she didn't know. And she freaked out and went into like a full panic mode. And, we recovered from that, and I held her and we just breathed together. And so as simple as that is, slowing down and taking even just 5 deep breaths can make the difference between going into like a full panic mode, a full anxiety attack. Just taking that time to like feel what's going on in the body. And even for my children, to see her to be able to come from like a level 9.5, 10 anxiety and drop it down to something more manageable just by breathing. That's a tool we all do, right? We have to breathe, or we're not living. So to be able to work with the breath, that's for me been super helpful, because it's a pause. And that pause, the yogic pause is what I call, is that time to stop from what we're thinking before we say it. Sometimes I just say it to my kids, which is like, shut the F up. But a lot of times I can stop myself from that by just taking a minute and pausing and deciding how the next moment will look.
Is there a technique that goes along with that? Is there some sort of technique that's with the pause? And if so, can you explain that to the audience?
Yeah. I really love just a simple kind of 2-to-1 breathing. Inhale through the nose and then an exhale. So I'll inhale for 2 counts through the nose and then just exhale for 4 counts to the mouth. And do that 5, 10 times. Continue with that inhale through the nose for 2 counts, exhale for 4. And it really does stimulate the vagal nerve. So you're working from what we live in all the time, which is that stress response, fight or flight. We're breathing in that top quarter section of our chest, our lungs all the time. And so it really does work on our rest, digest, and recovery. And so we start to stimulate that response, and our body is like, oh, wait, I'm okay. There's no bear chasing me. And we're able to start to down regulate our emotions by just breathing. I mean, it's a physiological, experience. It's happening. And we're able to do that and manage some of those stress responses, the stress receptors, by simply slowing down and breathing.
Wow. So it's power in the breath, just like it's power in the pause.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I know there's a power in the pause of life, power in the pause as you rest. So that's interesting in knowing that you're telling me now it's power in the pause of you breathing.
Yeah.
So I know you created a holistic program that supports women, especially moms, and focuses on creating a positive life and gratitude. Can you talk about that program?
Yeah. So I'm super excited. I just launched an app called the Zen Mommy, and it's really where I share what has made such a difference in my life, in my journey, because it's about the journey. And I started as a really stressed out real estate developer, type A, suffered from an eating disorder, met my husband, it's terrible relationships. And then I found yoga. And that really changed the trajectory of my life. And it was a beautiful gift. It was a path to spirituality for me, a path to just self-discovery and growth. And so through the app, I share what I call the 3 pillars, which is nourish. So for what we feed what we put in our body, I think really matters on how we feel. And if you're constantly putting, processed food and sugar and, high fat or high caloric foods, we just don't feel good. And what we put in our body says a lot about how we feel about our body. And we're gluten and dairy free, refined sugar free at our house for the most part. And so I created a whole online database of cooking videos, recipes that I personally curate, and also teaching, cooking skills like knife skills. That's a first video. Here's how you hold an actual knife. Here's how you dice, chop, chiffonade, all of those great things. Because it's something as moms, we all have to do. We all have to cook for our family. We often don't like it because we're probably not good at it. And people don't like our food. I did a video on how to season food. So I think food is such a big piece of that. So that's the nourish piece. The movement piece for me is yoga. So I teach yoga, vinyasa yoga. I teach recovery, more restorative based yoga. I teach something called myofascial release, which is like a self-recovery technique. So you can actually, work on tight muscles, and, we're not all being able to get out there and get massages and do all those wonderful things for our bodies that are part of self-care. So those are techniques you can do at home. And then the last piece is the mindset piece. And that's meditation and breath work and mindfulness techniques. And really within those 3 pillars is what I share within the app. And then my vision to see as this continues to grow is representing, teachers and mothers within this skill set of, all races and colors and creeds and ethnicities and locations, and really kind of growing this and using it as a platform for moms to connect.
I love that, because moms need that. We need something. We need support. We need stability. We need to be able to, you need a girlfriend. You need someone to be able to say, share the good things, but also the bad things, and know that you're not the only one that's striving in that same lane that you're going on at that moment. So I think that's beautiful what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, being a mom is a way that we're all connected. I mean, there is that, piece in each of us that, if you're with another mom, you're like, oh yeah, I get it. When you're out at a restaurant and you see a mom struggling, she's got a baby and a toddler, and, we've been there. There's this piece as mothers that unites and connects us all. So
how do you dive deep? What do you do for yourself? How do you dive deep internally? And like, what is your day to day like? I mean, I know that it has to be intense, I would imagine. I would love to know what your daily flow spiritually is like, if you could take us into that world.
Yeah. Diving deep. I've done a lot of therapy over the years, right? For me, that was a big piece. I've dealt with a lot of past trauma, some big T traumas. And I don't mind sharing this, coming out. And, my first sexual experience was rape. And I wasn't even able to say that until I was 38. So I'm 40 now. So working through that has been really powerful from a spiritual and emotional journey, and being able to get me to continue to grow. We have a lot of traumas that we carry with us And they show up in different ways. They show up in how we seek out relationships. They show up in our friendships. They show up in work. They show up in how we feel about ourselves and that quiet chatter. So that was really big for me, is continuing to kind of work through my own journey, my own traumas, and grow, and always challenging myself. Sometimes you get burnt out on self-improvement and growth, and you're like, okay, I need to take a break and reflect. And then get back at it when you're ready. And I think it's important. Like I said, yoga for me, I know when I'm not practicing, I don't feel right in my skin. And for me, that form of, whether you want to call it exercise or spirituality or movement or whatever yoga is for you, is just so healing. No matter where I am in the world, if I'm out there practicing, that to me just brings me home. I feel really, really safe on my mat. It's a place where I could kind of explore being me. And yoga, they said, is, it's like a mirror. A lot of things come up, but, at the end, there's the sweet, sweet release. So that has been really important on my journey. And what does the day look like? Looks crazy, like everyone else's. I'm not up at 4 or 5 in the morning, getting my workouts in, drinking my green juices. I mean, I'm a mom. I've got 2 stepsons and 2 little girls. And working from home, I get resentful because my husband gets to go to an office.
Yeah.
So as a mom working from home, it's just balancing and juggling. And, I do make time for myself and check in, even if it's just that walk for me. I cook dinner every night because I love eating.
Yeah.
And I love food, and I love feeding my family. And yeah, I think just like a lot of us do, bedtime routines, all that. We have Thursday night date nights, we got to schedule it in, make our relationship a priority.
I want to talk about the juggle that you're just talking about. What advice can you give to a mom who may be watching or listening, who's juggling? They're juggling being a mom and, career, and maybe being a wife or single mom, or whatever the situation may look like for them. They're juggling a lot. What's some advice you can give to them? Maybe 3 tips you can provide to kind of center your day and make it through.
Mm-hmm. I think our big one is just say no. No is a complete sentence that doesn't require an explanation. And a lot of times we feel pressured as moms to attend this thing or show up in this way. We compare ourselves as, to the Pinterest mom and the moms out there on social media, or, we need to show up. And I think it's important to check in and recognize, are we committing to these things? A, is it an obligation that we have to? B, how do we feel about it? How do we feel about this dinner we committed to with so-and-so? Do we feel good about it? Are we just like, oh, I have to go because they asked us? And, so I think that's a big part of checking in and being able to say no. That comes with age too. It's as we age, we have a little bit more power. We feel like we have more power to say no, but I think it's important for all of us to know that you have the right to reserve your energy. And that's really sacred. Not everyone deserves, your energy all the time, and recognizing when you have it to give and when you need to kind of pull back. Let's see, what other tips do I have on the juggle? I think prioritizing, number one, yourself. We, in our family, I took my husband a little while to get on board with this, but there's me and there's him at the top of the pyramid. And it's my job to take care of me. It's his job to take care of himself. And we take care of our marriage. And then after that, we take care of our children. Because if I'm not okay and he's not okay and we're not okay, all of this other stuff, comes down. So we really put importance on, our own physical, emotional, spiritual health. My husband's been in therapy, he's on his own journey to healing and wellness, and then we were able to, prioritize what the relationship means, for us. That's our third, party. There's me and him in the relationship. And, all 3 things require attention and, fires to put out, but making that a priority. And then the kids kind of falling down below that. And I think the third piece of advice, and this was a therapist that told me, is that this may be a shocker, so hold on, is our kids' lives are their lives. And we're not responsible for their successes or failures. And that's a hard one. It's a hard one
It
as
is.
moms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
you digest it, you want this, you want that, you have this whole image of what you may think for your child. That's a good one, what you just said. Yeah. And
yeah.
being okay, whatever that may look like for them, being okay with what that may be, just being able to
Yeah.
sit in that. Yeah.
I mean, the reality is, my children have their own journeys and it doesn't really have anything to do with me.
Yeah.
I'm kind of here being the bumper on the
Yeah.
lane, but other than that, it's their lane. I got to stay
Yeah.
out of their lane. I have my own lane that gets
Hmm.
really kind of crusty over here if I don't start taking care of it. But that's a really hard one. I think that's, one that I continue to work on. And especially in today's day and age with parenting, right? We're all helicopter parenting and we're just so involved in our kids' successes, failures, lives. We're just parents out there doing homework for their kids, and failure is okay. I mean, that's how we grow. If we look back on it, but I think that's probably are my three things. That's probably a big one.
I know so you have a huge library of gluten and dairy-free recipes and you love to cook. What's your some go-to meals that you can suggest that a mom who's listening or a dad who may be out there listening who can chime in and maybe do and follow along and do if they are looking to get a meal together in maybe 30 minutes or less and may not have a lot of time to do it, what would you suggest they can do?
Yeah, I think it's really important to understand, your schedules and prioritize. Like, when do you have time to start a new recipe, right? It's not Thursday night when there's dance and soccer and basketball, and that's probably not the best time to whip out your brand new cookbook or pull up the Zen Mommy app and try something new because that's a recipe for stress, right? But I really love making. I do a lot of burrito bowls at our house. I can throw rice in a rice cooker, have that and it's set it, forget it. Throw some, steak or chicken on the grill, roast up some veggies, and then, chop up a few fresh things. And what's great is that the kids get to make all of their own stuff. So like I said, my daughter who's 9 and has ADHD, she's pretty picky and textures things. So all of her things on the bowl are very compartmentalized. And she usually has a bowl and 2 little plates, but she enjoys it. And, mine looks full of veggies and, a little bit of rice and, everybody's looks different, but it's nice to give everybody the freedom to kind of create their own meal. And so that's definitely been a go-to. What else we like breakfast for dinner. My kids love, oh man, they got excited. Chicken and waffles. We got into some homemade gluten-free chicken and waffles.
Oh, that sounds yummy.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yes.
With maple syrup. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah.
I feel like I wanted to ask you something that it may not be a traditional question, but I think it's something that may resonate with people who may be listening. How do you feel, or what advice can you give to someone who may be in a different stage of life as a mom, the mom who may just have gotten out of a divorce, or maybe just separated, and they're trying maybe just be in a funk, and they're in the midst of trying to get their groove back, get back in the swing of things. How do you suggest they go about doing that?
That's a good question. It's a really good question. Sometimes, you can be just so down. The thought of moving your body is just like too much, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thought of going to a yoga class or trying something new. I mean, that,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're in a funk, that just seems way too much. And being really gentle, what I think is really great and can pull us out of that kind of suffering mindset when we get stuck in our monkey mind is breath. Sometimes even sitting down and meditating is like, whoa, I'm not ready for that. I don't need to feel those feels right now. But if you can take a few moments, whether you're sitting, maybe you're driving, and take 2 minutes, and do that breath technique, it just pulls us in, if we can do that throughout the day. I think that's really important. And being really patient with yourself, I think is good, and being honest. We can't just start a whole new regimen, or, we've got a new life, or we're going through divorce, or we switched jobs or lost a job. And, to get back on track is, just one foot in front of the other, I think, and taking one step at a time, and just being real gentle with yourself, being able to check in and see how you're feeling in that moment. and being okay with whatever comes up, be angry, frustrated, sad,
Mm-hmm.
all of those feelings are okay. And it's really easy to kind of shove them away and not feel them. But I really think leaning into some of the feelings and just kind of letting them come. Maybe that means crying. Maybe that means, phoning a friend and having a good support system. Maybe it means taking a few minutes to breathe. See if you notice how you feel. If you feel any different, I guarantee that you probably will. If you're running through a lot of stress and you sit down and take the time to truly just breathe, not fight or flight breath, that shoppy, kind of stressful, anxious breath, but really, and then just check in and notice how you feel again. There's a little thing, it's free, it's accessible to all, to most, to be able to just, to slow down for a minute. And then, phone a good girlfriend, really, I think having a support system is really important. Having people that you can check in with, that can be mirrors for you, that can be honest, feedback and support system in a time of struggle is really good. Especially as women, we love the gift of gab, and talking it out with my girlfriends is probably so necessary. For me, my husband's not a big communicator, and we've worked on that, but to be able to share something that you're going through with someone that's going to be gentle and loving with your feelings, I think is super important.
Oh, I agree. And it's something that really your girlfriends a lot of time can only give to you. It's hard to get that from a partner at times. A male partner.
Not everybody can be everything. If I came home and expected my husband to be like, my best friend, a male friend, is my best gay male friend, is like my biggest A1 cheerleader. And what I get from that relationship is he's like, yes, you can do it. And he's like, oh, and I've researched all of these things. I mean, I can't expect that from my husband. We have a different relationship, but if you have someone that can fulfill those little roles, or, depending on how you're feeling, if you're going to call up, Julie or Jessica or Michael or whatever, and that you can get some of those needs met, and, rather than putting it all on one person's plate, that's definitely hard.
It's so true. I mean, I think that's also the importance of having different friends that fulfill different reasons in your life. I have different friends that I talk to about different things. That have different compartments in my life. So kind of along the same lines, right?
Yeah, I loved it. I used to say friendship's kind of like an onion, and you have people and you're able to kind of put them in these different, you said compartments, which is great, different layers. And there's, a few people that are at that core, right, that deserve to hear your story, your most vulnerable moments, and we have all kinds of different friendships, and they're not better or worse or good or bad. They're just different. And so kind of recognizing, at what level of that onion that friendship kind of falls, and then relying on that, getting what you need and being able to provide that for someone is cool.
What do you find is the secret to finding your own voice as a mother? I feel like for myself and for really most moms that I know, you become, for me, my son's name is Nicholas. So I'm Nicholas's mom, or whatever your child's name is, that mom and your mom. And I think it's important, especially I'm realizing as my child is becoming a teenager and growing older, that you become something separate from just mom, but you have your own identity and you're able to, have your own life separate from that perception. Can you touch on that, or what are your thoughts in regards to that?
Yeah. Prioritizing yourself is so important because no one else will.
Yeah.
Right. It's no one else's responsibility. And I remember when I first had my first daughter, I went from being a career woman, a commercial real estate developer, and literally, like, I think I stopped working on December 24th, had her on January 15th. And I was just looking around, I was like, who am I?
Yeah.
I was embarrassed. I was like,
I know.
I'm a mom.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I say when I meet people.
Yeah.
Like, hi, I'm Jessica. I'm a mom. Like, come on. And it took me a while to kind of, settle into that role. And now I look back and kind of laugh, and I'm like, that wasn't, the value system that I was.
But I understand it because I've been, because moms, you go through it, Yeah.
And I think making yourself a priority, despite, what's going on, with your children, because, as good parents, we're meant to raise these children to have their own lives. I mean, they're supposed to leave the nest at some point, so whether or not, you're prioritizing yourself when the children are still at home, they're eventually going to leave.
Mhm.
or they're going to be living in your basement when they're
Yeah.
55 years old, which
Yeah.
is a whole
Which we don't
other
want that.
podcast.
No, that's not the goal.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
I think we get lost in putting our, our needs were at the bottom of the barrel, and I think that it is a process over time. It doesn't, we're like martyrs and we're moms and we're givers and we're born nurturers, and we like to take care of. That's why we're put here on this earth as women, and why men can't get pregnant. We would have a very small population, I think, if men.
Yeah, it'll be different, I'm sure.
Yeah, it would be different. But I think prioritizing and supporting other women prioritizing themselves too, whatever that means for you. If that means, taking time and seeing girlfriends, or taking time for yourself, or getting out in nature, or writing, or learning a hobby, or doing something that you love, and finding out what you even enjoy. I think sometimes because that changes, and, we become mothers and we look back and like, oh my God, where'd that 5 years go?
Yeah.
And it's all, as everyone says, life is so short. And eventually, I know it doesn't feel like it. The days are really long, especially if you have little kids at home, but the years go by really fast, and then they will leave you and start their own life. And that you don't want to be standing around there being like, well, okay, who am I? And then you can start to discover yourself within being a mom, and start to discover what you like, and, try on, different interests and hobbies, and, what you're into. Even in the context of being a mom, you can still grow and evolve and change and prosper in that, in that label that doesn't define who you are. That's one aspect. It's a really beautiful piece, but you're so much more than that. Each of us are so much more than, the labels that we kind of carry around.
So true. I love that answer. That was beautiful. Can you finish this sentence? I am a
believer, I guess. I'm a believer in that there's joy in life. I'm really, as stressful as our life has been, I'm a big believer that, we can access joy every day. And I'm a happy person. I mean, it doesn't mean I don't cuss a lot and get stressed out and, get disappointed and feel all the feels, but I do believe, I have hope. I feel the vibration of the world is changing. I feel that, people are waking up. I believe in humanity. I really do. I believe in the goodness of people, and wanting to grow and connect, and to lead with love and kindness. So I'm a believer.
And a master of.
Ooh, and a master of nothing. I am a trier of all things and master of none. And I think that's part of the journey is never being, there is no yoga master. There is no master in life. Nobody gets to come out of this with a certificate, but I get to try a bunch of new things and try all kinds of stuff and fail and fall on my face and get back up and have a lot of laughs along the way, but a master of nothing.
Who can control my own.
Yeah. I mean, destiny is the word that always comes to mind, but I'm going to see if I can come up with something more creative. I think I control my own. Well, no, I don't. I don't control my path at all.
Yes, you do. Yes, yes, you do. You control your own path.
Control my own path. Yeah, I think I make decisions every day that, get me on the way. And when they aren't working, when the universe is kind of pushing back, I know, because I find that obstacle again. But yeah, controlling my own little journey, my own path.
I love that. Thank you. I would like to wrap up with a segment that I call Tell and Tell, which is a play on the word show and tell. What is something that you can tell the audience about yourself that you have not shared with the world yet? A secret, if you will, about yourself.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think something that no one knows is my ability to forgive. Myself, I think, was a lot on my journey, and that took a really long space to get to a place to forgive myself and to forgive others. And everybody gets to see what they see on the outside of your life, and they really don't know anything about your journey, or anybody else's for that matter. And so forgiveness, I think, is probably that hidden gem for me that has really gotten me to where I am, and forgiving myself moving forward, forgiving, others in my life, people that don't even know that I've forgiven them, don't even know that they needed forgiveness. But that's probably been my little secret superpower that has gotten me along the way and continued to heal and grow.
Before you leave, even though I just said I was going to wrap there, I have to ask a follow up to that. Why was that important? Why is that important to forgive?
While someone said, like hate and anger is drinking a poison and expecting the other person to die. And it really does affect you on a cellular level, on an emotional level, when we're have that hate and anger toward others. And forgiveness is big. Nobody even needs to know about it, right? You can forgive someone, and then that's really for you and your own healing. And you're probably never going to get a lot of chances to really, we don't get a lot of closure with people that have, maybe stepped on us along the way or harmed us in some way. And so that piece of forgiveness is this like hidden gem that is so freeing to your soul, that is so freeing to your heart, to keep you open and vulnerable, to continue to love and grow.
It's so true. I just got into that space, really in the space of during this time of COVID, where I've learned to really begin to truthfully, genuinely forgive. And you're right. It is something about it, because it's like pressure off your shoulders.
Yeah.
It's a different type of happiness, a different type of glow, because you let it go. And
it's freedom.
It's freedom.
It's
and
emotional freedom.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not saying, oh, welcome this person or that person or whatever it may be back into my life. It's just accepting it for what it is, letting it go and moving on. And
yeah,
I mean, it's beautiful.
It's really hard, right?
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah,
it takes time.
Yeah.
And it is worth the weight in gold. I mean, to be able to be in a place and have that freedom, like you said, that hatred or anger, it weighs on you. You feel it. It's a heaviness that you carry with.
Oh, it's big time. And you don't even realize it until you get past it and you look back and you're like, oh my God, look how much time I wasted worrying about this or wondering that or dwelling on X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, because it's in the past. It's never coming back. I mean, you can't
change
change it. There's nothing you can do about it. So you're like, all right, you can keep moving forward.
Keep moving forward. Well, thank you for moving forward on this show and coming on this show. I really, really, really appreciate the conversation. If someone is interested in, joining you on your journey, how can they go about finding you?
Yeah, thanks so much, Sean. So yeah, the app, the Zen Mommy, is available on Apple and Google Play. So you guys can download it now. There's a free month that's going on. So if you want to check out all the video content, I'm super excited about that. You can also tune in to the Mom Slow Down podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff. Or you can find me on Instagram at the_Zen_Mommy. And I'd love to connect.
Well, I've already followed you. I'm a fan. I'm going to be part of this, platform with you. So count me in as a mom on your journey. So thank you again. I appreciate it. Have a great day. And thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you again. Well, that is it for this episode of the Journey Told Show. I'm going to leave you with words that my father so often would say to me, and that's to be the best version of you that you can be. Until next time, folks, let that sizzle in your spirit.